Okay, a major area of grammar in chapter 9 has to do with giving a command. How do we give a command? For example, eat your dinner, go to the store. Uh, so let's take a look at this. In Spanish, there are formal commands using the formal you or usted. And then there are commands involving the informal you or to. We don't have this distinction in English, so that's an important thing to be aware of. So whenever you're being asked about commands, ask yourself, am I being asked for a formal command that has to do with usted or ustedes, or is that to command? Okay, let's take a look. Commands and multiple forms of you in Spanish. So again, as I was saying, in English we have one pronoun for you, and consequently there is only one conjugation for the pronoun you when you're giving a command. In Spanish we have multiple pronouns for you. As I just stated, we have to the familiar you, usted, the singular formal you. We have vosotros, the plural informal, which we don't use at all in the Spanish-speaking world except for Spain. And finally, we have the plural you, that is you all, which is ustedes. So you have to be aware of which you're being asked about. For example, if you're being tested on the commands. So make sure you know if you have a to command, an usted command, or an ustedes command. Okay, so let's look at the rules for forming the commands. Okay, so to form commands, the rule is simple. How do we form commands? We all know how to conjugate verbs now in the present tense and with yo. So we conjugate the verb in the yo form, okay, and then we drop the o of the yo conjugation, and then we add these specific endings. And the endings we add will depend upon whether you're giving a to command or an usted command or a plural you command, ustedes. And the endings will also depend upon whether we have an AR verb or an ER-IR verb. This is very simple once you get used to it. So let's take a look. So if you want to give a to command, so if you're asked to give an informal command, like to a friend, someone in your family, you're going to give a to command usually. So what do? You get the conjugation of that particular verb, whatever the verb is. Let's say it's to eat. You get the yo conjugation of the verb, como. You drop the o, and now you add on an es ending if it's a to command. So if it were an AR verb, I'm sorry, you would add an es ending. If it's an ER or an IR verb, you add on an AS ending. So for comer, you would get como, you drop the O. Now you want to have a to command, so you would get no comas. An ER verb takes an AS ending, okay? Let's look at usted. What if you want to give an usted command, a formal command? If the verb ends in an AR, we're going to drop the O of the yo form of the verb, okay? So we would drop the O and we're going to add an E onto the ending. So if the verb is tomar, it's an AR verb, we would conjugate it now in the yo form. That's tomo. We drop the O of the tomo. It's an AR verb. What ending do we put on for usted? We put on an E. So it would be tome, take it, take. Okay. What if it's an ER or an IR verb, like comer? Again, we get the yo form, como. We drop the O. Now for usted, we put on an A. Coma, coma, eat. Okay, and then finally we have the ustedes form. We have 3 different yous, and when you're in a testing situation or speaking situation, you've got to be aware of which one of these yous you're using. So if we have ustedes, what are the endings? Well, if it's an AR verb, again, we'll take the verb tomar. We get the yo form, tomo, I drop the o, and the ending I put on is an en, tomeng. Tomeng, you all take. But if it's just you, I would say tome. Usted tome, ustedes tomen. Do you see the difference? We don't have this in English. Just be aware of this. Now, what if we have an ER or an IR verb? Let's say we have the verb vivir. So I want to tell you all to live well. So I take the verb vivir, I get the O form, vivo, I drop the O, and I put an an ending onto it. So I would say, ustedes vivan bien. Okay, so that's the rule in a nutshell for forming the command forms for tu, usted, and ustedes. Just make sure make sure you know which kind of a verb you have. Does it end in AR? It'll take special endings, or does it end in ER or IR? The verb will take special endings. Okay, so here's some more examples of what we just talked about. And so here are some AR verbs. Here's the verb tomar again. Now I want to get the command form, so I told you start first. You get the yo form of the verb, tomo. You drop the o from the yo form, and you get tom. And onto this stem, you add your magical endings. So it's an AR verb. So for the tu form, we put an es ending on. No tomes, don't take. For usted, we put on an e. No tome, don't take. And ustedes no tomen. Okay? Or ustedes tomen. It could be an affirmative. Take. And again, we just did these, but let's go through and do these. What about ER and IR verbs? So let's take the verb hacer, to do or make. It's an ER verb. So first, let's get the yo form of the verb. Now, it's got an irregular yo form. So again, remember your irregular yo verbs. We learned quite a few of them. That means your commands are going to have that irregularity in them. So let's take a look. Yo hago. I drop the O now of the yo form, and I get ag. That's my stem. Now, for the tu form, I put an AS ending. Hagas, no hagas, don't do. Usted, no haga, I put an A ending. And you all don't do is, or you all do would be hagan. And then let's take a look at an IR verb. To request or ask for, pedir. Let's get the yo form first. It's pido. Okay, it's going to have a stem change. So see how the yo form is irregular. You've got to know your yo forms of these verbs to properly form the commands. I drop the O of pido. I've got my new stem. And so for tu, if I want to give a negative command like don't request, I would say no pidas. And then for usted, request, I would say pida, an A ending. And then you all request would be pidan. Okay. Now, these you must learn. Some of the commands are irregular, and here they are in all their glory. Just learn them, okay? They don't necessarily follow any specific rules. So there's the verb dar, to give. Don't give, no des. If you want to use the usted command, de, give. You all give would be deng, deng, deng el dinero. There's estar, the verb to be. Here's the verb to go. So if you want to tell somebody don't go, again, you have to learn it. If you want to say tu, don't go, it would be tu, no vayas. If you want to tell someone to go and use the step form, it's vaya, and you all would be vayan. Here's saber. It's going to be sepas, sepa, and sepan. And to be seas. Don't be bad. No seas mal. Okay. Now, when you are using commands, sometimes you will have reflexive pronouns, or you're going to have direct object pronouns like do it, ask for it. And all I'm showing here, you can just look at this for yourself, is whenever you give a command and you have it, you have a pronoun, okay? Where do you put that pronoun? Like, how would you say ask for it? You attach the pronoun to the end of the command. It looks weird, but that's what they do in Spanish. So let's take a look here. It says, pide el pasaporte. Ask for the passport. Now let's say we want to get rid of the word passport and put in it. It's a masculine, it is lo, so we will say pide lo. I attach the pronoun to the end of the command. That's it. And if I gave the plural command, you all ask for it, it would be piden lo. What about a negative command if I want to tell you don't do it? Now here you put the pronoun before the verb. So don't ask for it would be no lo pida. The to form would be no lo pidas. You all would be no lo pidan. Okay, so it's just to be, I want to make sure you're aware that if we have to use pronouns like generally be it, that we either will attach it to the end of the command if it's a positive command, or we'll put it before the command when the command is a negative command. We put it in between no and the verb. No lo pida, no lo pidas. Okay, let's take a look and do some of these commands. Let's see if we can do them. Here's the verb doblar. Doblar means to turn. Notice it's an AR verb, so it's going to have an E ending. So let's take a look at it. I want to get the yo form of doblar. What is the yo form? It's doblo. I drop the O of doblo and I get doble. It's an AR verb, so I put an E ending on it, so it's doble. And for ustedes, I put an EN ending on it, doble. Let's look at hablar. Hablar is an AR verb, so I'm going to put the endings in my commands are going to be with an E. All right, you've got to start picking this up. Now, I get the yo form of hablar is hablo. I drop the O of hablo, and now I've got my stem and I can form my command. It's an AR verb, it's going to have E endings. Hable, speak, ustedes, you all, hablen. Here's an IR verb. I get the yo form of pedir. So again, our command forms are derived from the yo form of the verb. And many of our yo forms are irregular. So that's why I tell you, always go to the yo form of the verb, the present tense, to get your command. So it's going to be pido. I drop the O of pido, and I get pid. And my ending, because I have an IR verb, is going to be an A. So it's pida, and you all pidan. Ir is one of those irregular commands. You don't derive it from anything, you just learn it. So it's going to be vaya and vayan, go. And then if you want to tell somebody to be in such, thus and such, be this, be that, sea and sean. Okay, let's do some more of these. Here we have some negative to commands, okay? So in this unit, we've learned positive and negative commands for usted, you, the formal you, and for you all, the plural you all. But we've also learned negative to commands, and so let's do them now. We know how to do them. We've got to get the yo form of the verb, drop the O. If it's an AR verb, we put an E ending on it. If it's an ER or IR verb, we put an A ending on it. Let's try it. So these are negative to commands, so I'm going to say don't turn right. Okay, so the verb is doblar, so the yo form is doblo. I drop the O and I get doble. And what ending do I put on? It's going to be an ES ending, no dobles. Here's hablar. It's an AR verb. It's going to be very similar. Yo hablo, I drop the O. Now what ending am I going to put on it? If I tell somebody no, don't speak with him, no hables con él. Here's the verb ir. I can't derive this, I just have to know it. It's going to be vayas. And hacer. What is the yo form? It's yo hago. I drop the O, so it's going to be hagas. Okay? And finally, dar, I have to learn this one. It's one of those irregulars. No des. Okay, and we are done with the commands. Again, remember, there are 3 types of commands in Spanish, only one in English, because in Spanish we have multiple U's. We have tu, which has its own special endings. We have the usted form with its special endings, and then the you all or ustedes form. So just be aware of that when you're in a testing situation. Thank you.